阿姐个、阿叔、阿姆、阿伯，大家好。我迄日伫 office 内面，我那总部，大家都做得很累了，很辛苦，所以我想让大家比较轻松一点，互大家淡薄较轻松，淡薄，我就唱一块歌，互大人听。啊，唱什么歌咧？我唱福建歌啊。啊，这福建话啊，袂晓讲，爱唱福建歌，你惊死人。但是袂要紧，那是我佚佗淡薄啦吼。啊，即阵有人放伫电脑，让人看甲乱，所以你爱去看，你会使去看吼。啊，唱什么歌咧？这歌是叫100万。这歌是讲，若是我有100万，100万，若是我有100万，一世人就轻松，对无？啊，无讲，无人知，讲着真歹势。啊，食甲你大汉，阁无变买 SDP。打拼安尼多年，无车无厝，阁无爱人。看政府咧做生意，有钱阁有势。若是我有100万，我要留世界。互我去晒太阳，意大利食 spaghetti， 日本食寿司，累千万，莫互 BAB。若是我有100万，我要买车买厝，但是新加坡讲爱 count money， 做人真艰苦。若是我有100万，100万，若是要欠零钱，你投票免客气。若是我有100万，我要留世界，什么 ISD， 莫去啉高啤。若是我有100万，我要留世界，我要买车买厝，但是 BAB 讲爱COE， 叫人死予伊。若是我有100万，100万，欠政府安尼多钱。嘛哪会打害？若是我有100万，100万，物件大起价，真啊大问题。若是我有100万，100万，朋友诶，若是你人有100万，莫互 BAB 吼，也来 support SDP， 好无？我是讲笑，是较淡薄轻松淡薄啦，对无？吼，但是我是有真啊重要的代志，要甲你人解释。我早起去伫武吉金马岛，我人去我去饱迄阵，有一个阿伯，伊就甲我讲，伊讲我80出岁了，我的medicine revenue30外千，我无咧去陆军厝，我想讲爱用 medicine 来还我的陆军的陆军费5000块。伊讲 medicine 讲袂使。伊讲我即个话就爱讲出来，所以我直接甲大家讲，政府对我人的老人家。爱会晓顾，莫 一箍一箍、一针一针甲人算，对无？啊，昨日我伫金毛道，也是去啉咖啡，甲几个阿姆咧坐无，咧甲人讲，我讲收费真正重，哦，咖啡一杯即阵，哇，起甲箍几，伊甲我举互我看，伊讲我一杯一道叫一杯水3角。我想讲安怎安尼做呢？伊讲，咱莫怪这咖啡店的做生意的，因为咱爱还个租嘛，啊租是市民收的，弄就嘛是政府收的。我就是要甲人民讲解释，政府伊咱家己的人会晓顾家己，咱人民伊袂晓顾。保长的旧日工，一日我甲伊讲10000块，一日10000块。保长讲唔对，无安尼做。我讲无安尼做，你甲人讲大做吗？袂使讲。有这个理由无？保长工钱是咱人民的tax的钱，对无？伊咱惊人工钱，莫甲人讲偌济。袂使安尼看。啊，咱我若是讲，啊爸啊你人若是讲暗暝日是爱出去，你坐车坐巴士，你莫讲7点9点啦，人仔去做工吼，真侪人，莫甲人亏嘛，对无？但是呢，你9点到4点，较无人坐车的阵。叫政府，互咱坐免费的嘛，坐免费嘛，对无？你出去你嘛是要一顶车，你互几个老人家起来，够偌，你车油嘛是袂到低。所以我是讲，政府吝啬到那样子，甲咱会晓直算钱，伊哪会保障家己晓顾？我人是讲，老人家阿姆阿伯。你超过外人，你超过80岁，你爱去看路军，袂行。民主党外人讲，你叫的士，吼，政府甲你出。你爱看，你爱去路军厝，爱看路军，吼，免坐的士，你超过80岁坐的士免费，政府甲咱交出。毋是咱的国家尔咧。别个国家也是安尼款，台湾啦，哦，韩国、日本，伊人的老人家，伊人会晓顾。啊，咱呢，咱的政府就是顾伊家己，所以咱好好想，你这个大选，好好想，好好投我人民主党的票，好无？好无？民主党会使无？民主党会使无？会使无？你会昨暝下晡到听无啊？较大声淡薄 SDP 会使无？就拢听无啦，较大声淡薄。你会三啊听无？较大声淡薄 SDP 会使无？谢谢大家，感谢你。My fellow Singaporeans. In politics, there are always two sides of the argument. But there is one issue that everyone can agree on, is that Singapore has become a very expensive place to live in. The cost of living has risen at a tremendous pace in the last decade or so. Whether it is housing or healthcare, or even the food that we eat every day. Things have gotten much more expensive very quickly. I mentioned at an earlier rally that while Singapore was only 97th most expensive city in the world in 2001, we are shot to becoming the most expensive city in the world today. How did this happen? Have you ever wondered why things are so expensive in Singapore? 2 words: land pricing. Land price is the main driver of the high cost of living here. And the reason why we are the most expensive city in the world. But how does this work? The government is the largest landlord in Singapore. It owns large plots of land throughout the island. It determines how much land is sold and the price at which each parcel is sold to the SDP and to private developers. This means that the government controls the sale of prices of new HDB flats, commercial rental, and tender prices for private developers. It does this through giant real estate companies like Capital Land and Maple Tree. In other words, high land prices mean high sale prices and rentals. Businesses have to rent or buy office space, and the higher the rentals and the commercial property prices, the higher the overheads for these businesses. These overhead costs are passed on to the consumer by the increase in prices of goods and services these businesses produce. And there is another way that high land prices affect you. Because of the high price in office space, businesses try to keep wages down by keeping wages low so as to maximize profits. They do this by hiring cheap foreign labor instead of Singaporeans. Singaporeans are further disadvantaged in that large foreign retail chains and corporations are better able to afford the high land prices than local entrepreneurs who operate small retail outlets and SMEs. So the overall effect of high land prices set by the government is that 1, things are made much more expensive. 2, it also has the effect of putting our homegrown businesses and entrepreneurs at a disadvantage. And 3, it lowers productivity and increases unemployment and underemployment. Now the problem in this whole setup is that the PAP government doesn't own the land in Singapore. This land belongs to all of us here. And it shouldn't be used by the government for profit and make life so stressful and tough for the citizens. Instead, land should be used for the common good of all the people and to make life easier for all of us. I mentioned in Hokkien just now that just the day before I had visited Ghim Moh, and I spoke with a group of older ladies sitting in a coffee shop at the foot of HDB block. I talked to them about the cost of living and mentioned that a cup of coffee is so expensive nowadays. One of the ladies there, she pointed to a glass of water sitting in front of her and said that that cost her 30 cents. Imagine a glass of water and a coffee shop charges you 30 cents. I don't blame the owner of the kopitiam business because he or she has to pay for rent for the lease of the shop, which is owned or managed by the government. Again, it is the PAP government that is profiting from Singaporeans. And clearly, the government continues to get richer and richer using the land that belongs to us. And at our expense, especially those who are the lowest income groups. Take, for example, the case of a man by the name of Tan Ji Suan, an odd job laborer. The man had difficulty feeding taking care of his polio wife and children with his meager income. He worked and saved enough until one day he finally managed to save a few $100s, enough to buy his wife a bed that made it less of a struggle for her every morning to get herself up because of a polio. The family could afford little else. The pressure and humiliation of not being able to provide for his family got the better of him. In October 2006, he killed himself by jumping in front of an oncoming MRT train. As I mentioned last time, even the middle class, or the sandwich class, as we call it, is getting badly squeezed by the rising cost. Many of you, we know, many of you cannot save because your expenses outstrip your wages. As a result, many Singaporeans have to work harder and harder just to stay at the same spot. All this exacts a social cost. A survey in 2013 on the social attitudes of Singaporeans showed that 55% of the respondents said that work demands had interfered with family time. This is up from 47% in 2009. This puts a tremendous strain on family relationships. The same survey showed that the proportion of divorced, separated, or widowed respondents who said that their jobs took time away from family more than doubled to 57% from 25% over the same period. Psychiatrists in Singapore, and this is an important statistic that you must remember. Psychiatrists in Singapore reveal that up to 90% of their patients are suffering from mental health issues caused by stress from work. I'm not making this up. You can look it up online. A survey conducted in 2014 by a group called Randstad Company found that Singaporean workers are the most stressed out lot in Asia. This is the situation that we have today. The PAP takes care of itself very well. And the ministers insist that they must be paid top dollar, otherwise they don't want to serve. In 2012, Ms. Grace Fu, the PAP candidate for this constituency, in reference to the cut in ministers' pay after the last GE, she said, and I quote, "If the balance is tilted further in the future, it will make it harder for anyone considering political office," unquote. Shameful! And then just last week, Dr. Vivian Balakrishna said that there are only two kinds of people who would work without incentives. Those who are wealthy and those who are corrupt. Do you know how insulting that is to the hundreds, if not thousands of volunteers who are helping us and other organizations and who have never demanded a single cent in return? But then, when it comes to Singaporeans, every time you tell the ministers to take care of us and those from the lower income groups, they tell you that that will ruin the work ethic and worse, bankrupt our country. Mr. Liang Eng Hua, the candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC, did exactly this last night at a PAP rally, referring to our proposals like minimum wage retrenchment insurance, healthcare financing. He said, quote, "The crazy economic ideas of the SDP will reverse our economy," unquote. But when they budget $104 million for the Youth Olympic Games in 2008, it's money well spent. Dr. Balakrishnan, who was the minister in charge of the Games, went on to blow the lid of the budget and spent another $300 million on top of the original amount that was originally budgeted. But listen to this, and I want you to really think about the attitude of Dr. Balakrishnan. After it was pointed out to him that he had overspent the YOG budget by nearly 3 times, he said, and I quote, "If I knew it was going to cost this amount, would I still have proceeded to bid for the Games? The answer is a definite yes." Unquote. But when you ask that the CPF savings be returned to our retirees, the PAP says they will squander away their savings. Dr. Balakrishnan, if you are listening to my speech, and I'm sure you are, you have absolutely no moral authority to tell Singaporeans that they will squander their savings when you outspend the YOG budget by $300 million.
Where is our reserve? Kick him out!
Fellow Singaporeans, I hope I don't have to tell you, I don't have to explain to you that the only reason that PAP dares to make such galling statements is because we don't have an effective opposition like the SDP in Parliament to hold it accountable. Have we become callous and immune to all this?
No!
We shrug our shoulders and we sigh a sigh of resignation and say, "Bo pian, what to do?" Cheng Hu, like that one. After a while, it even ceases to bother us. We've lost the ability to feel outrage at life's injustices. We see the number of poor growing in our very midst. We see lines for free meals lengthen at temples. We see our elderly dragging their aching bodies to work so that they can earn a few dollars to feed themselves. Our workers hold down 2, sometimes 3 jobs just to earn enough to pay the bills. The younger ones are unable to find jobs that pay enough. Their dreams of buying a flat and starting a family made exceedingly difficult to realize. Well, I'm here to tell you that we are not helpless. We can do something about it. I want to appeal to your hearts. But more importantly, I want to appeal to your minds. I want to reason with you. Now, people have told me that I'm too academic. But I think that it is important that I reason with you and appeal to your sense of logic. Because if I don't, then all I have left is sensational rhetoric. Although nice to listen to, does you absolutely no good. I know that if I appeal to your intellect, to your sense of right and wrong, then I know that together we can make the right decisions. I have another reason for appealing to your intellect. If I appeal to your intellect, then we will not get into gutter politics. Now, some of our supporters, they make derogatory remarks about the PAP candidates. Please, refrain from this. Because even when I disagree with Dr. Balakrishnan, I disagree with him with what he says. But I don't dislike him. We went to the same school. He was 1 year my senior. But I had great admiration for him. Even when he was in school, we were in school, and he was a school debater. I remember watching him and former PAP MP, Mr. Davinder Singh, when they were school debaters. And I was thinking, wow, I want to be able to speak and debate like that. I'm sure his colleagues, Sim An, Christopher D'Souza, and Mr. Liang Inghua are also not bad people. But this election is not about them. It's not about Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, although you see his picture all over the Singapore press. It's not about our past. And it most certainly is not about me. It is about you. It's about how we want to build our future. About how what we want to do for Singapore. We, as citizens, we have the power and the ability to set the course for our nation, to take it to a better place. We must do this together, my fellow Singaporeans. We must do this together as a people. Many people have said to me, Aya, don't confront the government. The PAP will self-destruct in 1 or 2 elections. Just be there to reap the benefits. I've heard this over and over again, more than I care to remember in the 20 years that I've been in politics. But that's not what I joined SDP for. It certainly is an easier way, that's for sure. But I wanted to add my voice to the growing chorus of voices who see the problems and want to address them. That's why I joined politics. But if I just keep quiet and try to get into Parliament and take in the monthly allowance of $16,000, then I might as well have just stayed in my job as a professor at NUS. No. I came into politics to speak up for you, because if those of us who care don't speak up, then change will not come. Let us not continue to allow fear to dominate us, to freeze us into inaction. Because fear destroys ideals. It blurs moral clarity. Let us overcome our fear, because we cannot stand up for democracy on bended knees. In life, we are confronted with choices. We can choose to live passionately and for what we believe in, or we can continue this path of timidity and fearful silence. Either we live and dare mightily, or we cower in fear without spirit. And let it not be remarked by history that we were a generation who remained on our knees even as our overlords stripped us from our freedom and dignity. Let us stand up to those who would oppress us. Let us look them in the eye and tell them that they will demean us no more. Let us speak up for the poor and the broken. Let us live free and dignified lives. Let us stand mightily, and in so doing, know what it truly means to be Singaporean.